was great. You know, and the girls were throwing themselves at us. You know, how do you not pick up girls? You're hanging out with David Bowie, Andy Warhol. You know, they're sitting. Keith Richards loved us, you know, but that was the life. You know, it didn't faze me at the time. We had no conscience. You know, I knew a lot of people that were going to get and before that, I went out with dinner with guys that I knew my father was going to have killed 3 days from now. I'm out having dinner with them, patting them on their back. Hey, you know, that's the steak. Yeah, don't worry, Thursday you're dead. 1995, you know, 5 in the morning, ding, 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 and they raid my house.
Yeah.
You know, so in spite of myself, I guess I started developing a conscience. Like the life started rubbing me the wrong way, which I never thought would happen.
What was it like waking up and just doing whatever you want in New York City? Because most people will never understand what that's like. You know what I mean? Like you lived it, but like say somebody in the middle of nowhere, Iowa right now on a farm somewhere, and they're listening to this or they're watching this podcast and they're thinking, well, I could never imagine what it's like, you know, being in that life, you know, where you have all this money all the time. You can go to all the best nightclubs. You have all the most beautiful women. Drugs, alcohol, anything you want is at your disposal every day. You can go shopping, do whatever you want. Like, can you just say like a regular day where you didn't have to do any collections, you didn't have any mafia stuff that you had to do, and you just were like, I want to go have fun. I'm going to go spend money, or I want to do whatever I want. What was like, describe like one of your most fun days when you're in that life and you just want to enjoy yourself.
The fun, it was, you know, like I would get on a plane and go to Florida, go down and go to South Beach, you know, rent the Mustang convertible, rent the suite in the Fountain Blue, you know, financial freedom. That's what I miss about the life today. I missed, because I don't have financial freedom anymore, you know, but I'm content today. But, you know, that question is a trick question because you're never satisfied, okay? No matter how much power you got, how much money you got, you're never satisfied. You always want more. You always want more. But what it afforded me was financial freedom to be able to get on a plane, to go to Miami, get a young girl, go to the Fountain Blue, go to Atlantic City, shoot crap, lose $10,000 on a dice table and not worry about it. You know what I mean? So,
right.
So you know, to blow off steam.
You never punch out like you
yeah, exactly. It's you're always on duty. You know what I mean? Like anything could happen. You could get a call in any. Yeah, like I was on vacation. I'll tell you. I'm blowing off steam. I'm in New York. Now, I used to come to Florida sometimes by myself because I had family members down here, and I would come down here, and I wouldn't tell nobody I was here, and I would just come down here for a couple of days, lay on the beach. You know, I had a lot of money. I always liked to be tan. That was, you know, I stood tan 365 days. I had a thing with my tan, and I never went to a tanning salon. It had to be natural. So I was in Miami. I'm at the Fountain Blue. I'm by myself. I'm laying on the beach, my eyes closed, and I hear a voice. I found you fucking bum, right? And I look up, and it's Nicky Carrazza. Nicky Carrazza, at the time, was the acting boss of the Gambino family. This is in the 90s. I look up, and it's him and his captain, Lenny DiMaria. Now, these two guys were made by my father. They were with my father when they were kids in East New York. My father proposed them for membership and put them into the Gambino family. Now they're bosses. He finds me. I found you fucking bum. Those were the exact words. I look up. I go, oh, what the fuck are you doing here, right? So we get up, we talk, hug and kiss, and he goes, I heard you were here. I knew you were hiding out here, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, you know your way around, right? I go, yeah. He goes, I want to go to Joe's Stone Crab tonight. All right. I take him to Joe's Stone Crab. Now he knows I know my way around. I'm driving. Now I'm driving. Now here's the boss of it. I'm driving around, right? Now 2 days go by. Now my whole vacation's you know, I'm driving this guy around, right? He's the boss of the 9 FBI agents are following us, right? Right? I'm driving this guy around. I got a car, a train of FBI agents following me. They're on the boardwalk taking pictures of us on the beach, right? Now we're on the beach 2 days later, and he has a zapped flip cell phone, because we used to get all our phones zapped back then. We never paid for them. We had a guy that used to do it. And he gets a call, and he comes back, and he tells me, listen, you know Billy Baird, that's with the Columbos? I go, yeah, he owns Goldfingers, the disco, the strip joint. He goes, yeah, listen, he goes, I got an emergency. I got to go back to New York. He goes, but I got an appointment tonight with them for Sid. This guy, Sid Always, was a Shylock that was with Nicky. He goes, they owe Sid money. Could you go there and straighten it out for me? I go, yeah, of course. I'm not going to tell him no.
Right.
And I went. I got 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So now I go. The guy that drove me became an informant. The guy I met became an informant, and I got thrown in on a RICO. Okay, now I meet Stan Always. I get my friends from New York to come down to go work for him, for Stan, right? There's a guy down here that's already wearing a wire, and now I'm hooked up in a RICO. Right. All because this guy come and found me on the beach. Right. So, so to answer your question, you're never not in it.
You can never fully like relax, right? You're always on point. Like
I was never, and I could only speak for myself. I was never content in that life. And people ask me, what's different today than then? So then I had power, I had respect, I had a lot of money, I had financial freedom, but I was never content. Because you know it could end tomorrow. You could go to prison, you could get killed. You know, something could happen and it could end. Because when you're making money like that, sometimes you think it's never going to end, but in your heart of hearts, you know that sooner or later this could come to an end. And I was never content. The difference between today and then is, even though today I don't have financial freedom, I mean, I work in a detox 3 days a week. I work today 6 hours. I only work there for a day, but I'm content. That's the difference.
A little more peace of mind, right?
I'm content. You know, I sit in my condo, I drink my coffee in the morning, you know, the cat jumps up on the couch. You know, I don't have to worry about them coming in 5 o'clock in the morning. Like the last time I got arrested in 1995, you know, they're in my house, wrecking my house, and my daughter's in her diapers going, Daddy, I'm on the couch in handcuffs, and my daughter's going, Daddy, are these your friends?
Right.
You know, I don't have to live that way now.
Yeah. Was it what you had expected it to be when you were at your height in that life? Was it what you thought you had imagined when you were a teenager and you wanted to get involved?
When it was good, yeah. When it was good, it was everything I expected and more. Listen, there was a time where it was great. It was really, really exciting. I mean, you know, listen, I'm hanging out in 1980. I get out of prison, right? My brother, now when my father was great friends with Jay Black from Jay and the Americans and Frankie Valli, great friends. As a matter of fact, Frankie Valli took my father out for dinner a week before he died in 1999. My father was good friends with De Niro, with Sinatra, you know. So I was always around these people. You come in my house, Frankie Valli sitting in my kitchen eating pasta Azul with my father, you know, like it was crazy. Louis Prima is there, you know, he was good friends with my father. So I get out of prison, it's 1980, I get out of prison after I did my first bit, and my brother is hanging out in this club called The Ritz. It was a rock club in downtown Manhattan. So it was The Ritz and Studio 54. It was uptown in The Ritz, and the celebrities used to bounce back and forth. And this guy, Stanley Always and Jerry, they owned The Ritz. They were with this guy, Matty the Horse. He was a Genovese captain, but they were good friends with my father and Jay Black. So I started hanging out there with my brother in the VIP. I'm hanging out in there with Andy Warhol. He's sitting at my table. A Billy Idol sitting at my table. Frank Zappa. I'm in there one night on a date. I'll never forget, this girl name was Jenny, because that's my mother's name, so I'll never forget her name. I'm sitting at a table. The place is packed. There's a show. Some old-time rock guy was there. I forget his name. I can't think of his name, but the joint's packed. And I'm now the tables are all roped off along the balcony, all the VIP, but we always had a table. And I'm sitting there with this girl, Jenny, we're on the Rio, and, you know, everything's downstairs the stage, and the owner, Stanley, comes running over. He goes, oh, my God, I got a problem. You got to help me. I thought he was going to get a beat. I go, Stanley, all right, relax. What's the matter? He goes, Diana Ross just called. I got nowhere for her to sit. Please, could she sit at your table? I said, could Diana Ross? I said, of course Diana Ross could sit at my. Now the girl I'm with, she's like, did he just say Diana Ross is going to come sit with us? I said, I'm the celebrity here, not Diana Ross. And I'm breaking balls down. Sure enough, 20 minutes later, he comes walking over. Not only is he with Diana Ross, he's with Gene Simmons.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Because they were dating back then, because he went out with Diana Ross and Cher. He went out with the two of them. He comes, he sits next to me, Gene Simmons, and she sits next to my girl. I'll never forget. He ordered a club soda, and Diana Ross ordered a beer. And they sat with us and watched the show.
Wow.
So when it was good, it was good. Another night I'm there. And
where is there though?
the Ritz.
The Ritz.
I'm in the Ritz. You could Google it. The Ritz nightclub pops up. Tina. So now I'll tell you 2 more stories about the Ritz. Now I'm there one night. The other owner, the partner, Jerry, comes over to me. He goes, listen. He goes, I got an appointment. Oh, and this is the good one because Gene's grandfather was with me. Wait, this is really good. So he goes, listen, I got an appointment later. I want you to call me, but I can't tell you who I'm meeting. What do you mean you can't tell me who I'm meeting? He goes, I just want you to come with me, but I can't tell you who I'm meeting. It's a surprise. I go, all right, but listen. I said, I'm with my uncle, Junior, and my brother-in-law, Gene's grandfather. He goes, they could come. I said, all right. So I wait about an hour later. He comes. He goes, come on, we got to go. It's time to go. So I tell them, come on, we go. We go to this, to Greenwich Village, Soho, and we go to this bowling alley, this old retro bowling alley. And upstairs from the bowling alley was like a sawdust bar, like a class, like chic, one of them things, We walk up, and there's a table in the back. This is who's sitting at the table: David Bowie, Susan Sarandon, and Catherine Duval. They're filming, now you could look this up, they're filming this movie called The Hunger. They were vampires in this movie. The 3 of them were in the movie I'm talking about. So they're filming, and they had to meet Jerry. So we go there, and he introduces us, Bowie. Hey, we sit down. My Uncle Junior, Gene's grandfather, goes, who's this fucking English guy? You don't know who he is. It's David. He knows who the girls are. Goes, David Bowie. Goes, David Bowie. He's a rock star, millionaire. Goes, millionaire, right? Yeah. So now he was a funny guy. He starts telling dirty. Now we're drinking, snorting coke, right? Because I had a package on me. That's probably why Jerry brought me there anyway. right? So we're drinking and snorting coke, and my Uncle Junior starts telling David Bowie dirty jokes. David Bowie's hysterical. My uncle hysterical. They're laughing. Then my crazy uncle, Gene's grandfather, thinks he's got a shot with Catherine Duval. He goes, I think she likes me. Maybe she's the most beautiful woman in the world. What is she gonna do with you? And this is how I was living.
Right.
This is how I was living. Now, Tina Turner, she's doing a show there, right? Her comeback show's there. I'm there. They take me backstage. I meet her. I meet her orchestra, her band, and everything. Right now, I'm watching the movie. What's Love Got to Do with It? And at the very end of the movie, it ends in the Ritz.
I didn't even know that.
When you watch it, and at the very fast forward to the end, and the writing, it says at the Ritz. The show was at the Ritz. Yeah. I was at that, and when I'm watching, I go, oh shit! I was there. I was in, I met her in the Ritz. She sat right next to me. We were drinking together. Right. She came after the show. She sat on the couch with us in the VIP. So this was how I was living. It was great, and the girls were throwing themselves at us. How do you not pick up girls? You're hanging out with David Bowie, Andy Warhol. They're sitting. Keith Richards loved us. Keith Richards used to call my house. My mother used to go, who's this English guy? He used to call for my brother, ask for Albert. She used to go, who's this English guy that keeps calling in for your brother? It was now how we met him in the Ritz. This is the last Ritz story I'm going to tell you. So we're in the Ritz. He's there. Now, we and my brother are big Rolling Stones fan. But the celebrities liked us because we were in awe of them. And they knew we weren't going to call the press. They knew they could trust us. They knew we had blow on us. Not that we were dealing blow, but we were partied.
Right.
And they felt safe with us, so they wanted to hang out. The celebrities used to seek us out. Even seek my father out, seek John Gotti out. The celebrities seeked out the mob guys. We never went looking for them. Right. We didn't want our pictures in the newspapers.
Well, that's probably why they like it then, because there's no fakeness. You guys are
right,
and
right.
Like, it is just very simple. They know
right.
They just want to get away and have fun with people.
Exactly.
There'll be no BS.
Feel safe.
Right. So now, talking about now, you could take this into boxing. Wait. So now my brother is a boxer. My brother's sparring with Jerry Cooney. My brother's in the gym every day, punch, knockout, either hand. He's athletic, but he's a street guy. In the gym every day, sparring with professional fighters. We're in the Ritz. Keith Richards is there with his wife, Debbie Hansen, at the time. Now, this was when it was his girlfriend. We're in the Ritz, and we know he's there. He's at a table. We didn't get introduced to him and anything. At the end of the night, we're leaving. Coincidentally, we're all leaving. And this Ritz, the steps going down. It's still open. Now it's called Webster Hall. And we're going down. And there's 2 drunk guys behind us. And Keith Richards is over here walking down the stairs with his girl. and the two drunk guys start abusing him. And limey, you ugly, what is she doing with you? So my brother turns around and he goes to them, why don't you leave the guy alone? He ain't bothering nobody. So they tell her, why don't you mind your fucking business? My brother goes, what? Boom, bang, 2 punches, out cold. That's it.
From all.
Both of them, like just went bang, boom. They were both out. Oh, he was like, oh God, Keith Richards. Now we walk out and there's a limo parked outside, right? We walk him and we just converge into the limo. And as he's getting in the limo, he tells my brother, I'll be here Tuesday night. If you want to come, I'll be here Tuesday night. Tuesday night comes. My brother goes, what do you think? I said, let's take a ride. Maybe he'll beat it. Maybe he won't. We go there. Sure enough, Stanley comes and gets us. He goes, come in my office. We go in his office, and Keith Richards is sitting behind the desk. So how do you not love that life?
Right.
It's incredible. How do you not, how do you not? Boxers were hanging out, Rocky Graziano's sitting with us. My father's taking us ring fights, ringside. The first fight I went to in the 60s, Nino Benvenuti, middleweight, was fighting Emil Griffith for the middleweight title of the world in Shea Stadium. That was the first fight we went to. After that, I saw Roberto Duran fight Kenny Buchanan for the lightweight title in Madison Square Garden ringside. I saw Muhammad Ali fight Floyd Patterson ringside. I saw Muhammad Ali fight Oscar Bonavena ringside. I saw Joe Frazier Ali 2 ringside. Wow. I mean, you want to talk about fights I went to? Like, at all ringside. Like, my father loved boxing, so I saw everybody fight, every big fight I saw. Duran was my favorite. I loved Roberto Duran. He was an animal. I saw so many fights we saw, and always sat ringside.
How awesome is that?
It was amazing.
It
was amazing.
That's history.
Yeah, forget it. Yeah,
for boxers and stuff like that. Anyone who loves it. Joe Frazier Ali,
we saw Ali fight. Was it the Oscar Bonavena fight, or who was fighting that night? I forgot who the main event was, but Larry Holmes was on the undercard.
Really?
It was an 8-rounder, and Larry Holmes won, and my father told me and my brother, see that kid, Larry Holmes, he's going to be the champ one day.
I'm sure.
Yeah, my father knew boxing. He was a good boxer. My father, too. He was a good puncher. He's told me he learned how to fight because he grew up in Brooklyn. And when he was a kid in the 30s and 40s, everybody was a Brooklyn Dodger fan. But he was a Yankee fan.
Sweet.
And that was not a good thing to be. So, because he loved Joe DiMaggio, and he was Italian, and he said, you know what, I'm a good fighter, and I punch like a mule. He goes, because I used to kick all the Brooklyn Dodger fans. I used to stand up on my stoop, and they used to run up on my stoop, and I used to knock them, drop them right on my stoop. He goes, I used to fight every day. He used to say, fight them Brooklyn Dodger fans every day. I used to fight them. Yeah, because it was bad being a Brooklyn Dodger fan back then. Yeah. Well, you know Chicago Cubs.
So
you come to Chicago, you know the deal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we live on the South Side, and I'm a Cubs fan, so I'm already walking into how the Cubs are.
Yeah. So it was really good in the 70s, and I went to jail in 78. When I got out of jail in 80, it wasn't really the same anymore. I mean, the Ritz was hopping. I was still meeting, I was living large, the celebrities, but the drugs started getting a little crazy. Then my father started going back and forth to Florida. We came down to Miami. My father opened up a restaurant in 1981 in Miami, and he was spending a lot of time down here. Then he got arrested in 84. He was in prison. And then it started getting a little bad. Then it started going downhill for me personally. Like the coke started getting out of hand, and I started freebasing cocaine. I got introduced to that. That was not a good thing. Then I was going back and forth because he went on trial 3 times. So I was living down here in hotels with my wife and my son, and I wasn't really on the scene anymore in New York because I was more or less in Florida taking care of him. And then he got convicted on the 3rd trial. He got 40 years. And then it was not a good time for me.
Yeah. So the downside of the life, obviously you're describing it right now. Is it also hard to go out every day and not know what's going to happen? Whether it be you have an encounter with law enforcement, whether you're not able to collect the money that somebody owes you, whether you get a tongue lashing from a boss, like just the unknown. Is that?
Yeah, it was hard. But at that point in my life, I was being that I was spent so much time down there because my father was incarcerated and on trial 3 times, which took a few years. I wasn't really involved in anything in New York. Like I was getting money from so my father and his partner Tony Lee, they would get monthly envelopes from all the guys that were with him. So I was pretty much getting an end of that. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't actually doing anything on my own for a while, if that makes sense. Like and then when he got convicted, and I went to treatment. When I got out of treatment is when I plugged back in. Mm-hmm. So when I plugged back in '88, when I plugged back in '88, that's when I started creating my own things. Because now he had 40 years. I started driving Tony Lee around. John Gotti was the boss. Things were different. And I started plugging in, and I started making a lot of money on my own then with my I started a vending company. I had the chop shops and the credit cards, and I started accumulating a lot of money on my own. And then I started living large again on my own because now I'm not taking care of him. He's not on trial. I'm not using drugs. I'm not drinking. It's all about now earning money, going out with girls that were 19 years younger than me.
That's regular.
My father used to go like, what the do you talk to her about? I said, we don't do much talking. Yeah. He goes, what do you talk about? She's 19 years younger than you. She was legal. Let's not get the yeah. I said, we talk. I go to concerts. I like concerts.
Right.
So, but what happened was for me, I can only speak for me. I now I'm clean and I'm in this life, and I started, and now I committed a murder. Where we killed my brother-in-law in 1988. And I got out of treatment, and he did something wrong, and I took him somewhere, and he was murdered. So now that wasn't a good thing, of course, naturally. But that was the life. It didn't faze me at the time. We had no conscience. I knew a lot of people that were going to get before that, I went out with dinner with guys that I knew my father was going to have killed 3 days from now. I'm out having dinner with them, patting them on their back. Hey, that's the steak. Yeah, don't worry, Thursday you'll dead. You know what I mean? Like enjoy it now. Enjoy it now, because like Thursday you're gonna meet Jesus. You know what I mean? Like but that's the mindset. It doesn't even faze you. So now I'm clean and I'm living this life, and I'm making a lot of money, but I'm like a little empty.
Yeah,
I'm a little empty. And I'm not figuring out what's going on. That's why getting back to Inside Out '89. Because now I'm making tons of money. I'm going out with models. I'm living large. I got a beautiful home. I got a wife. I got a daughter now. And I'm wearing $1,000 suits, but I'm being followed everywhere I go. The cops are up my ass. The feds are up my ass. I knew sooner or later, I'm getting wires from attorneys in Manhattan. Like, listen, a big pinch is coming down. And sure enough, 1995, 5 in the morning, ding, 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 and they raid my house.
Yeah.
So in spite of myself, I guess I started developing a conscience. Like the life started rubbing me the wrong way, which I never thought would happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I got arrested in '95 for a big bookmaking case, which now is legal. I have an app on my phone. Now you want to make a bet? Yeah. Because now the government does it, so it's okay now. Yeah. I went to jail for it, but now it's okay. The government put me in jail, but now they do it, so it's legal.
Right.
Yeah. So I get arrested on this big bookmaking case from the state organized crime task force in '95, and I take a plea. I get a 2 to 4, and I'm in prison in New York State prison, and I get indicted in Miami for Nikki meeting me on the beach, and then that indictment was unsealed, and this is how I find out about that indictment. I'm in my cell, in a jail cell, I smoked there with an ashtray on my chest, and I'm sitting there with my robe on like Al Capone. I got my TV, right? But I'm listening to the radio, right? I got my TV, I got my robe on. I'm laying in my cell smoking a cigarette, and I got the radio on with the news, and also I hear, and today in Miami, the Gambino crime family was devastated, and those indicted was Nicky Carrazza, Lenny DiMaria, and Anthony Ruggiano Jr. I jumped up. I go, what? I jumped up out of the bed. The ashtray went flying. I go, and now I'm, what? And I'm listening, and they're talking about us on the radio. Now I'm locked in a cell. I got no phone. I'm stressed now all night. I'm stressed out. I'm pacing the cell. The next morning, the gate opens. I bust out of the cell. I run down to the phone. I call up my mother. They're going to give you life. She's screaming on the phone.
Wow.
They'll indict you for murder, conspiracy, and extortion. They're going to give you life. She's screaming, crying on the phone. I mean, so they come, they get me. I go back to Florida. I get 10 years. Now I got 10 years. And that's when things started to change in my head and in my heart.
Yeah.
Because now I had a daughter. I had a son. Then my father died in 99 when I was away. Tony Lee had died right before I went to jail of cancer. Then when I was away in 99, my father died. They sort of took everything from us, the mob. Because so when a wise guy dies, everything illegal goes to the family, and then the family keeps that, and everything that's legitimate goes to the immediate family, which would have been us. But we had nothing legit. Everything was illegal. So they kept most of the stuff. I mean, they gave me some stuff to survive on, but they kept the bulk of it. The Gambino family kept, Pete Gotti actually kept the bulk of it, John's brother. So he died, and I just started changing my way of thinking, like it was sort of like the drugs. I started hitting the bottom, and then I got out in 04, but I still wanted to get made. I still was proposed. When I got out in 04, after doing 8 years and 3 months, they sent for me. Lenny DiMaria sent for me. He was a captain in the Gambino family, and he told me, listen, we passed your name around. You're going to get straightened out. You could go on, sit down. You have permission. We just didn't have the ceremony yet, which is going to be at any time now. So, do what you got to do. I said, all right, thanks. A week later, I got arrested for murder. I'm on a park bench waiting for my son to come home. And there's a bench in front of his house, and I'm sitting on the bench in June, the sun. I'm sitting like this, the sun shining. All of a sudden I hear, don't move, you fucking scumbag. And I open up my eyes, and there's a gun right in my nose. And I'm surrounded by FBI agents, and they grabbed me from the back and pulled me up, handcuffed me, and they threw me in this back of this black van, and they're screaming at me, we got you now, you fucking murderer. You're going to spend the rest of your life in jail. It was like I was drowning. My whole life flashed in front of my face like that, and I got arrested for another RICO with a murder. And then I was done. Yeah. But I still, I was done. And I came out, I was under home confinement for a year, and then I just made a decision to cooperate. I couldn't do it anymore. And I couldn't even make the call. I gave the card to my wife, and when she went to work, I told her, call this number and tell this guy to come see me. I knew that was my only way out. I would never have been able to get out on my own, and I knew that I had to get out, and that was my way out. So it was really great at one time, but then it winded up not so great.
Yeah. I got to ask you your thoughts on a couple of movies, right?
All right.
So most people don't really know what the mafia is like.
Yeah.
So people, the movie industry glamorizes the mafia, obviously, right? Casino, Goodfellas, A Bronx Tale, Sopranos, all these TV shows, and everybody loves these movies and these TV shows. You ask anybody, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite movie? It's The Godfather. They name these movies, right? A lot of them won Oscars. Best actor, best supporting actor. What were your thoughts on these movies? Like Sopranos, for example, right? That took place in Jersey, your hometown. Did you ever watch it, or were you familiar with it?
Yeah, well, it's funny because it came out when I was in prison. I would call up my friends and go, oh my God, there's this show on HBO, Sopranos. They're having soprano parties on Sunday nights. It blew up. So I never saw any of it. But when I got out, I had a friend of mine in England, no less, this guy I met that lived in London. He sent me the box set of The Sopranos, and I watched it on when I got out of prison. That was realistic. I have a lot of thoughts on that because there's something that people don't catch that I realized because I guess I was in the life. So, I mean, that was realistic outside of him seeing a psychiatrist. That would have never happened. He would have got killed. Mm-hmm. There was no way a boss or anybody. Like my father had a friend. He was a soldier in the Colombo family. He had a legitimate nervous breakdown in the 80s, like legit. Like nobody knew back then what bipolar was. He was probably bipolar, unmedicated. Today it would have been a different story. They have all these medications. Back then they had, you went to the nut house, right. You got shock treatments. So he had a nervous breakdown and he went to a psych ward. He got out and about a year later he had another nervous breakdown. He disappeared off the face of the earth. That's how the mob dealt with mental illness. You disappeared.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that would have never happened. But that other than that was realistic. Casino, realistic. Goodfellas, definitely realistic. Very close to my heart because I knew them personally. My father was actually named in the beginning of it. Fat Andy.
Gene mentioned that too.
Right,
Yeah.
which was a real surprise because the first time I went to see it, I'm in the theater with all my friends. We knew them. I dated the guy that Jimmy Burke played, the guy that Robert De Niro played, Jimmy Burke. I dated his daughter. I knew him very well. I mean, I went to his funeral. I knew his whole family. Tommy DeSimone, the part that Joe Pesci played, he used to take me out with him. Like he used to come to my father's bar and say, "Listen, I'm going to take your son out." And my father just told him, "Don't get my son in trouble." No. And he used to take me out with him. So Paulie Vary, I used to go in his house with my father. So I knew all of them personally.
Wow.
So that was like special to me, that movie. But now the first time I went to see it, I'm in the theater and all my friends are with me, you know, and they panned the Bamboo Lounge. And when they said Fat Andy, all my friends go, "That's your father." In the middle of the movie, like the movie theater was mobbed. That was realistic. Donnie Brasco was realistic. But people don't understand. They glamorize it, but what happens at the end of all those movies?
Mm-hmm.
Casino, they all got murdered, brutally murdered, right? Goodfellas, what happened? They all went to prison. Who got murdered? Who went to prison? Casino, they all got murdered. The Godfather 1 and 2, he ended up alone in a chair. He killed his own brother. You know, every movie, even now the show I did, Get Gotti, tremendous hit on Netflix, right? Beyond My Wildest Dreams, #1 in the world. And I tell people, it's not a love story. They make it like John's, you know, he looks great, he's laughing and he's high-fiving, but at the end of the day, the poor man died chained to a bed.
Right.
Like a dog in a prison hospital. Nobody wants to die. You know, I want to die home in my bed with my family. I don't want to die chained to a bed. My father, Fat Andy, bigger than life, died broken alone, you know, after doing 13 years in prison. So, you know, there's not a pot of gold at the end of that rainbow. You know what I mean?
Not like the movies.
No, it's not like and that's what I do now. Like I try to promote that. Like the other day, I put out a picture I took in prison of us in front of our Christmas tree in a federal prison. And I put in the caption, you know, I put, you know, for those young men out there that think, you know, the mob is all that, this is your future Christmas cards.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Federal prison, you know, so that's my message. Like, listen, yeah, at one time I loved being in that life, but look what I gave up. I spent almost 14 years in prison, 2 failed marriages, a drug addiction. I didn't see my kids grow up.
I mean, there's a lot on the other end. Like
Exactly.
They don't see it.
People don't see it. That's not in the movies. You know what they don't show in the movie when my daughter used to come visit me and cry at the end of the visit, "Daddy, why can't you come home?" Mm-hmm. They left that part out.
Right. Yeah, because they don't. That's not gonna sell.
In Goodfellas, they showed everybody in jail living large, you know, which how we did it. You know, we did that in jail. Mm. We did eat good in jail, and we did have COs on the take, and we did have drugs and alcohol and food in prison. But I'd rather be in my kitchen. But they didn't show the next day after eating that meal when Henry Hill's kids would come and visit him and how they cried in the visiting room. That part they left out.
Right.
Why do you think people are so attracted to it?
I think because somebody asked me that question last night. I think it's because it's a very unique lifestyle and not everybody, could you live it? Could you live like that?
I don't know.
And that's what I think it catches people's imagination because it's a unique lifestyle and not everybody could do it. I mean, who could go out in the morning and kill somebody and go home in the afternoon and have dinner with their family? Right. And like nothing. My father committed murders and then would take us to our Little League game. Like nothing. Like they could, in the mob, the code word for murder is work. Like when I would go out with my father and he would say, "You see that kid, Matt? He did work." Like I knew that to me, that he's telling me that you killed somebody. And if he told me, "See that kid, Matt, he's a good kid, he did a lot of work," that means you killed more than one person.
Oh, wow.
That made you a good kid.
Right.
You know, you were a good kid.
Which is crazy because that's
Right.
not the way average people explain life.
Right. My father got mad at me because I didn't want to kill somebody. My father wanted me to kill somebody, and I told him no. He got mad at me.
Got mad at you.
And yelled at me.
Really?
"I'll do it myself. Don't worry. Forget it." He told me, "I'll take care of it myself. Forget I even asked you." Wow. Yeah. So what happened was after my sister's husband disappeared, but this is the part that they don't show. This is the dark side of the mob. So the dark side of the mob is a father and son. You have children?
I don't know.
You have children? Okay, I have a son. I can never in a million years imagine committing a murder with my son. But my father believed in that life so much that it was okay for him to commit a murder with his son. So we plot the murder of my brother-in-law together, right? He okays it, we carry it out, it's done. Now my sister gets arrested a while later with this kid, Chris, who wasn't a mobbed up kid, didn't know the rules, didn't know wise guys, was just a kid that was fooling around with drugs. He got hooked up with my sister. They were fooling around with drugs. They got locked up in a stolen car with credit cards. I bail my sister out. I go visit my father to tell him what happened, because now he's breaking my balls. Why? Come and see me, because he knows his baby daughter got arrested. I go see him. He says, does this kid know who your sister is? I said, this kid don't know nothing about wise guys. He's just a kid from the neighborhood. He goes, well, oh yeah. He goes, well, you know what you got to do here, right? So I looked at him. I go, you know what I got to do here? I go, yeah, you know what we'll do? We'll kill everybody she goes with till she meets an astronaut. I told him that he got like, forget it. I'll take care of it myself. I'll have it done on my own. Now he's in prison. Right. Don't forget it. I'll take care of it on my own. Don't forget it. And he's mad at me because I don't want to kill this kid, Chris. So I leave. I go back to the neighbor and I send for this kid, Chris. I tell him, listen, you better get out of here because you're going to go. You know what I mean? Like, he wanted me to make you do the Houdini, but you better get out of here. The kid ran away. Now I don't see the kid for years. I don't know if the kid died. I don't even want to ask my father because now the kid's gone. I don't even want to ask him, like, did you do it? Did you have this kid whacked? I don't even want to know. A couple of years later, like, I don't know, 2 years later, I get a letter in the mail from this other kid, Chris, that I know, this kid, Chris Christoph, and he sends me a letter from the joint, and he goes, listen, there's a kid, Chris, in here saying he comes from Ozone Park that he used to date your sister, do you know? And I said, oh, thank God the kid's alive. And I said, yeah, I know him. He's all right. And they made him hang out with them. So, I mean, but that's the mob. That's the mob, to think it's okay, you know, to kill somebody with your son. And then if your son says no, you get mad at him. Right. People that ain't in the movie. That ain't in the movie. What's in the movies is, you know, partying and girls and drugs but at the end of the day, they all get who's getting. Look how them guys died in a casino. That's a true story. They got beat to death with bats. They were thrown in a ditch alive. Yeah. You know, there's no success stories in them. You know, outside of like a guy like Carlo Gambino, which is a rarity. And look how he lived. He lived like a hermit. I mean, he was a multi-gazillionaire, and look how he lived. Dressed up like a little old man. The chin, how to make out he was insane. Right. Yeah. I mean, wow. Yeah.
Were you around him ever?
I knew his brothers. He waved to us once. My father knew him because they grew up together. See, so that's a good story. So when Frank Costello got shot in the hallway, the chin did it. But when Frank Costello first got shot, they picked up my father for that because he fit the description of the chin. And they took him to that hallway and they made him run up and down the hallway because there was a witness that said the guy was waddled a little bit, like heavy set. So I told my father, you didn't shoot him? He goes, no. I go, come on, did you shoot him? He goes, if I shot him, you'd be fucking dead. I said, oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I said, all right. That's father-son conversations we used to have.
Right. Yeah. So did you guys ever talk about him being in a back room wandering around New York?
Yeah, my father said that thank God he wasn't in that family because he don't know if he could put up with that. He probably would have got killed. Right. Because he would be having meetings and like if he knew he was under surveillance, he would just start peeing in the street it was crazy. Yeah. I mean, I know his daughter, Rita. We're good friends. We did a couple of things together, Rita and I. And she tells me like how it was tough living with him because in the house he was normal and he would make her walk out with it. And she said he was like an actor. He would put on his robe and his hat and he would walk down. And as he was walking out of the house, his whole would change and he would hold her hand. And when he walked out of the house, he made out he was insane. And she knew he wasn't. She was traumatized by it. Sure. And even the medication, he used to take psychotropic medication and he wasn't crazy. Like he would go to the psych ward and take the medication.
Just like, be fully in on this.
That's crazy with the, I mean, I work in that field And to take psychotropic medication and not be crazy is crazy within itself. 100%. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's no joke.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. The length people will go to
Stay out of jail.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when you were in jail, were you struggling being there? Not when you were younger and you guys had all the nice meals, but you went later on in life as well, right? In the 90s, correct?
I went to jail in 78 the first time. I got out in 80. Then I went back to jail again in 91. I did 16 months. When I went to jail in 91, it was a little harder because my son was 8 years old. Now I had a kid. My son was 8. You know, when are you coming home? When are you coming home? But but that's all I knew. I wasn't going to go get a job. When I got out of jail, I went right back to the street. In 92. When I went to jail in 96, then it started, wearing on me. It started wearing on me. I did the bid because when I first was a kid and the first time I went to jail, my father sat me down and he told me, listen, when you go to jail, there's two things that you could do. He goes, either you could get stressed out and lose your fucking mind, or you could go there, kick back, get a book, and chill out. He told me, he says, because they could take away all your rights, they could lock the door, but they can't stop the clock. He goes, so you're going to get out. So just get comfortable. And that's what I did. I got in there, I got comfortable, I got, with the guys, the mob guys, I worked out, I took care of myself. But in the night, when I went away in 96, now I had two kids. I had a 3-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old son. And after they visited me, I would be depressed. I have to honestly say that. Like, they would visit me and I would lay in bed for 2 days. I would be depressed. Like, it started wearing on me then. But I mean, I did the best I could while I was in there. I worked out, I took care of myself. I read a lot of books. I try to stay as healthy as I can. But I after my visits, it wore on me.
Were you ever concerned about any of the other inmates, like as far as altercations, or because you're around obviously a lot of dangerous people, right? Were you ever concerned or worried about, like, you're in prison, somebody could have a knife?
Yeah, no, I saw a lot of violence in prison, like especially in New York City. Like, I was in Attica, so when I got sentenced to Florida to the 10 years, I still had to go back to New York and finish my state time. And when I got back to New York, I had a federal detainer on me, so they upped my security and they sent me to Attica, which was a very violent prison. I mean, I saw people get cut and stabbed every day. But there's rules in prison. Right. We were mob guys. They didn't f with us. We were friendly with the gangs. Like, we used to use the like there was phones in the yard, and we used to use the King phone. Like, we were like tied up with the Kings. The Italian guys will, use the King phone. Like, I knew everybody. Like, I used the Jamaican posse phone. Like, I was friends with everybody. Like, even the gangs liked us because we were mob guys, But I had a few altercations personally. I had a few fights, But there's rules, you don't gamble, you don't take drugs, if you don't get involved in bullshit, you're not going to have any issues. They know who to pick on. They know who to shake down. They know, who to f around with, But I had a few altercations. I had a couple of fights when I was younger. I had a little beef in Schuylkill over the Yankee game. Because so there's TVs on the poles, and one is a sports TV, so I'm a fanatical, crazy Yankee fan. My friend just left, so I put a sign up for the Yankee game that day. It was a Saturday day game. So I'm watching the game. I was the only one. I'm watching the game, and there's all these young kids behind me, black kids. I'm not a racist, but they happen to be black kids that are sitting behind me. And there's this one old-time black guy, this big fat guy named Moon, and he's like egging them on. He goes, you're gonna make that guy, there's only him by himself. You just don't want to watch that fucking Yankee game. And I hear him, but I'm paying, because I had headphones on to listen to the game. But I'm listening to what I'm making out. I don't hear him, and I'm listening to him. And they ain't saying that he's calling him name, because they weren't saying that to me. So I watched the game. The game ended. I go up. Now I'm living with this guy, Kevin Kelly, who was a Westie. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Westies from Hell's Kitchen. He was like one of the main Westies. He was my cellmate. So I tell him what happened. I'm going to get this fucking guy moved tomorrow, right? He was like, you fucking crazy over the fucking Yankee game? I go, it's not. It's just a point, right? So the next day I get up. I put my fucking my things on, my boots on. I get the fucking shank. I put the jacket on, right? Now I'm crazy. And all my friends are going, are you fucking nuts? It's a fucking Yankee game. I said, you don't understand, right? So I go around. and he's in his cell. It's like a room, you know, with a metal door. And I see him, and he's brushing his teeth, right? And he's a big fat guy, and he's brushing his teeth. And I open up his door, and I step in, and he's got toothbrush. And he looks, he goes, "Oh, gee, are you here to hurt? What are you rolling up on me?" And he starts laughing, and I bust out laughing, you know. And he goes, "You here to roll up on me?" I go, "Yeah, that's right, motherfucker." He goes, I said, "You want to fuck around with the Yankee game?" He goes, "You're gonna roll up on me over the Yankee game?" And it was just, but I, you know, that's how, you know, you got to do what you got to do in that.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't gamble, I didn't take drugs, so you know, I had it pretty good. But I saw a lot of bad shit in prison. It's bad.
What about like the white supremacist gangs, like the skinheads or Aryan Nation? They didn't mess with you, and the Italians were separate.
Yeah, they didn't. The prisons I was in, there wasn't many of them. They didn't mess with us. Nobody really messed with us. I mean, you know, we had, you know, plus we were good to everybody. You know, you know, like if you was a stand-up guy, you know, we fed people, you know, we took care of people, we made people get packages. Like you could only spend a certain amount of money. So let's say you had no family, but you were a good guy. Like we knew you were a stand-up kid. Like, so we would have somebody send you 500 and you would go shopping and we would cook you up. And so we were getting a lot of stuff. So, you know, we spread the joy. Right. You know what I mean? Like not a lot of people do that. So we knew how to get over. Like we knew how to, you know, we had the best jobs. My job was cleaning the microwave. That was my job. Twice a day I cleaned the microwave. Yeah, big job.
I would say like, and for an analogy purposes, like in high school, you got like the popular guys, like the jocks, the guys that got, you know, all the girls. It sounds like the mafia was kind of like the cool guys of the criminal underworld. Right?
Definitely. And jail, jail's not like it is on TV. You know, with the guards being mean and all, that's all Hollywood. That's all bullshit. You know what I mean? It's not like that in jail. You know, you have your gangs, but everybody knows who's who and what's what. And, you know, if they know that you're going to fight back, they ain't going to fuck around with you. And that's how it was with us. They knew that if they fucked around with us, they were going to have to get serious. And there was no reason because we were good to everybody.
Right.
Yeah. But you're right. We were the cool guys. Yeah. We were the cool guys. Even in the clubs, you know, the girls wanted to be with us. Like, you know, like we would go to clubs in the 70s and they would, like, we didn't dance, but they would dance all night with a guy. And then at the end of the night, they leave with us. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
You know, we had the money, we had the drugs, we had the, you know, we had the hook, the owners, you know, get in, like we would, like, here, you know, we have a ton of money, right? So now, here, this is how I would pick up a girl. I would go to a restaurant in Manhattan, right? Let's say the three of us would go to a restaurant in Manhattan, right? And there'd be like three gorgeous girls sitting at a table. This is Friday. And I would tell the waiter, bring them a bottle of wine. They get a bottle of wine. At the end of the night, give me that check. Yeah, you pay that check.
Yeah.
That's it. It's, you know, come on, you want to go to Studio 54? Really? Yeah, come on, let's go. And that's it. Case closed. Yeah. It's a wrap. You know, it's a wrap.
I wanted to go back to that real quick, and I didn't want to like change subjects, but two things. What, have you ever dated anybody that was famous? And the other one is, you know, you touched on this, like, because everyone hears about Studio 54, you know, and like, that was it. That was the spot. And you slightly touched on, you said, you know, they had to be a small little spoon.
Yeah, Coke spoon.
Coke spoon. So can you just elaborate on that a little bit?
So in the Ritz, so you know the Addams Family, right? The original Wednesday, Laura Linning, like the first Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And so I'm in there. She was in a soap opera. Unfortunately, she just passed away not too long ago. So she was in a soap opera back then, As the World Turns. So I'm in the Ritz one night, and Jerry, one of the owners, comes over and he goes, "Listen, come on, you want to meet Wednesday?" I said, "Wednesday Addams?" He goes, "Yeah, the actress. She's here." I said, "Really? Yeah, bring me." So we went over there. She was with a couple of girls. Beautiful. She was gorgeous. And he introduced me to her, and we started, you know, she took me back to a house that she was, unfortunately, she had a little cocaine problem, but then she got clean later on, and we hooked up. You know, and I used to tease her. I go, "I can't believe I'm Wednesday on a Thursday." I used to tell her. And she had a portrait of, it was kind of weird because she had a beautiful apartment in Manhattan, and over her couch, she had a portrait of her as Wednesday, like staring, you know, like, right? Like right above her couch, you know, and I would sit and I would look at the portrait and like the kid Wednesday would be staring at me. So yeah, she was probably the most famous person I personally, but like, I Irene Carr, the singer from Fame, she liked my brother. She always wanted to hook up with my brother. But we were going out with everybody. I mean, we went through the whole club.
Most guys will never know like what it's like to have that kind of pull to just go up to any hot woman you see and pick her up. Like no fear. You're not worried about her boyfriend or the guy she's with beating you guys up. You're not worried about
chase her boyfriend.
Right.
Chase her. Take a hike. You know, I'd hit on anybody. I would hit on Madonna. Like, I had no fear of hitting on anybody. Like, I always felt that if I had an opportunity with anybody, and I still feel that way. My daughter thinks I'm crazy, you know, like
confidence.
Yeah, you know, and we've had it very easy. Women, we had no problem getting women. Even waitresses, like in the Ritz, the waitresses were gorgeous. Me and my brother went with every waitress in the club because they loved us. You know, I mean, we turned them on, we gave them tips, we took them out to after. Like, so my father owned after-hour clubs all over that. So when the Ritz closed, we didn't go to we went to our after-hour club, like where we owned it, you know what I mean? So we, you know, they were just all over the place.
Yeah. Did being a part of the life help you with your confidence, or were you just naturally just a confident man around women?
No, I think it had to do with that lifestyle. I think when I was a kid, I wasn't confident, but as I got older and I got more involved in that life, and started making more money, and I just got more ballsy.
Now, when you're going out with a woman or you're picking a woman up, how do you go about talking about who you are or what you do? Do you have to kind of bullshit?
We never, you know, it's funny because we had it was like a running joke, like what do you do for a living? We work in construction, and then they would like feel my hand. They go, you don't work like I have a manicure now, because I did a show for the History Channel. Some guys from London flew here the other day, and I did a show with them in Miami. So I got it when I get married, and I knew I was doing this, so I got a manicure and everything.
Appreciate it.
Right? So you know, we were always well manicured, so they knew who we were. Yeah. They knew we were mob guys. You know, even our wives knew, but our wives were in denial. You know, like my wife knew what I was doing. You know, like my second wife used to tell me, you know, I don't even know what your income is. I said, don't worry about it. I said, tell her, as long as you get what you got to get in the bills, don't worry about it. She goes, I don't understand. She goes, my father has comp in Atlantic City. He gets things in the mail. You get personalized phone calls. She said, how much money do you take with you there? Because they used to call me up. And you know, they used to get me boxing. Listen, you want to see a Foreman fight this guy tonight? Yeah, we got ringside seats at a suite in the showboat. All right, no problem. She just told me, you get personalized phone calls. I don't understand it. My father gets flyers in the mail. Yeah.
I got, speaking of the clubs, I have to ask you this question. There's a picture floating around of Neil De La Croce with a monkey in his lap in a tuxedo and Frank Sinatra, I believe. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have the same picture. My father was at the same party. I have a picture of my father with the same monkey. That was a wedding. That was a mob wedding. I don't know whose wedding. That was a mob. I have pictures of my father with Neil, and my picture with fathers of that monkey at the same wedding. Oh, no. Yeah, that was a wedding that they were all at back in the day in the 70s. It was a big mob wedding, and they were all there, and they had a monkey there as like an entertainer. Yeah.
It's just a wild
picture. Yeah. I have pictures home of my father with the same monkey. It was at the same party. Yeah.
Could you just briefly discuss Neil De La Croce? Did you have any interactions with him?
Oh, yeah.
When you see a picture of him, he's just got this ice-cold look on his face. Like, it was said that he was John Gotti's mentor, and he was just a no-nonsense guy.
He was very old school. He was very serious. He had them shark eyes. I knew him since I'm a kid. I used to be very good friends with his son, Buddy, and his daughter, Tony. I mean, we were very close. He was a serious man. I have a funny story about him. So in the early 70s, there was this club in Manhattan called the Hippopotamus. It was like a high-end disco, VIP club. So we're up there one night, and we're in our early 20s, like 22 years old. Me, his son, Buddy, my friend Sal, and we're there with all these girls, and we're drinking and everything. And check comes, and Buddy gets the check, and it's like $400 and change. Back then, that was big money. He leans over, he goes, hey, the check's $400. How much money you got on you? I got about $60. He goes, $60? He goes, I got like $80. How are we going to pay this check? I said, do they know who you are here? He goes, no, they don't know me. I call over to maitre d'. His name was Carmine. Like in the Copa, I call, hey, Carmine, come here. I said, did you ever meet Buddy? He goes, no. I go, you never met Buddy? Neil, tell the coach, your son. Oh, really, Buddy? I said, listen, you mind if he signs the check and pay, do it? He goes, no, not at all. I said, Buddy, sign the check. So we gave the tip, like we had about 100 and change. We gave it to the waitresses for tips, right? And we left. Buddy now goes crazy. He's signing checks all over New York. Now me and him, we're going to the Copa. We're signing checks at the Copa. We're signing checks at the Shepherds. And we're signing checks all over Manhattan. Me and Buddy now, like crazy kids, right? One day I get a phone call, and he goes, my father wants to see us. I said, your father wants to see us? What are you talking about, your father? What's your father want to see me for? This is the underboss. So what is he? He goes, I don't know, but he says you need to come to the Raven Night right away. I said, I need to come to the Raven Night. Now I run upstairs because I'm living in the basement with my father. I go, oh, right? I run upstairs and I tell my mother, Ma, where's Daddy? She goes, oh, he left before. He left. Now there's no, so I don't even know how to reach him. There's no internet or nothing. Yeah. I go, what do you mean he left? She goes, he left. I said, holy shit, right? Now I'm like panicking. I'm going, what did I do? I'm trying to think. So now I got to go, right? I get in my car. I drive to Manhattan. Buddy lived across the street from the Raven Night with his mother, and he's in the hallway. He sees me walking up the block. He comes out of the hallway, and I go, what's going on? He goes, I don't know. My father called there. He just told me that me and you got to come to the Raven Night. We walk in, pitch black in the Raven Night. Who's sitting at the back table? My father and Neil are sitting at the back table, the two of them, right? I go, holy, hey, look, I said, what the fuck is he doing? We sit down, Neil goes like this, he looks at me and he goes like this, and he goes in his inside pocket and he takes out a stack of, and he throws them on the table, all checks with our signatures on them, right? And he goes, what's that? I go, tabs. Shut the fuck up. My father does. I go, yes, shut the fuck up. So he looks, he goes, that's right, tabs. He goes, what do you think? You and my son think you're just going to go over Manhattan and sign our names on these checks? We signed Neil and Fat Andy on the checks. So he says to me, this is Neil. He goes, this is what we're going to do. It was me and your father. He goes, and Buddy. He goes, me and his father are going to pay these tabs. If you and him sign one more tab in this borough of Manhattan, I'm going to break your fingers. He goes, and your father and you, he goes, your father ain't going to say shit about it. I'm going to break your fingers. I said, all right, no problem. I said, no problem. We didn't sign no more checks after that. No problem. So, but he was a serious guy. He was dangerous.
How terrified were you?
Oh, I was nervous, because he was the underboss. So if like I could get killed in that scenario, I could get my father killed along with me. Like if I did something really wrong, like that's a serious scenario because like he's my father's boss. So when my father can't even save me in that scenario, I'm, you know what I mean? So
did you have a little bit of a relief when you saw your dad, or were you still?
Oh no, I knew I wasn't going to get I knew it was serious, but I was going to walk out the door. You know what I mean? I was going to survive. Yeah. I knew I wasn't, wasn't a death sentence. I knew I was in trouble, but I didn't know what I was in trouble for until the checks at the table, and I looked like, oh fuck. Yeah.
Did he ever have the joking demeanor at all, or was he always just like?
No, he used to play. So we would go to the Raven Night back then when he was alive every Wednesday and every Saturday. That was my father's days. He would always go to the Raven Night every Wednesday and every Saturday. And he would go in and they would play pinochle. And he would sit at the back table, laugh, play pinochle, drink wine, drink espresso. They would gamble. They would play pinochle. They would break balls. He was a regular guy, but he was serious. Yeah. He was old school. He was old mafia, old Coastal Australian, and that was it. Old school. Dangerous. I mean, he killed his daughter's boyfriends. They burnt one guy. They stabbed him. They tied him to a tombstone. They lit him on fire. I mean, he was a serious guy.
Wow. And he was John Gotti's mentor, right?
Yeah, him and Charlie Wagons. Yeah, John Gotti was very close with him. They were all close with him. Tony Lee, my own man, Angelo, Quack was close with him. John was close with him. He had a couple of guys that were really tight with him, but John was definitely one of them.
In the TV show Sopranos, there's a scene. You said you had the series. There's a scene where Christopher gets shot, right? And then the other guys come to visit him, and Christopher's talking about how he died and he crossed over to the other side. Do you know the scene I'm talking about?
And he went to the Irish pub.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that scene.
That analogy. Were you guys ever afraid of, like, you know, some evil entity getting involved? Like, as far as, like, say you got shot and, like, you guys do all this bad stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
superstitious.
I guess. I mean, I'm just like, if you see that scene, it's very powerful, right?
Yeah.
We ever think, oh, well, we did a bunch of bad, you know, like.
Well, that scene, the reason why he was in an Irish pub is because the mob guys don't like Irish people, right. And Irish people don't like mob guys because the mob guys think Irish people in New York were all cops, and Irish people think the mob guys were all criminals outside of the Westies. They were criminals and killers. But so there was a lot of racism between the Irish and the Italians, and that's funny because he was in hell in an Irish pub and it was St. Paddy's Day every day. My grandmother was born in Sicily. My mother's mother was born in Sicily, and she always lived with us in our house upstairs. And for some reason on St. Paddy's Day, she would wear green. My father used to get so mad. He would tell my mother, "What the f*** does your mother wear green for? She's not Irish. She's born in Sicily." He used to get so angry that she wore green. That's, you know, that scene, he's in an Irish pub on St. Paddy's Day. No, I don't think we were afraid. We were superstitious. People were superstitious. Like, we were horns and saints, and, you know, we got our kids baptized. Like, I received all the sacraments, even though my father was a murdering, you know, mafia guy. You know, I received communion and confirmation and got married in the Catholic Church. You know, on our burials, we always had Catholic priests there at the funerals. So, I mean, it's, you know, but we weren't, like, afraid of evil. Like, we believed people could put the horns on us. You know, we believed in that stuff, you know. That's why we, you know, wore things to protect us. That comedian from Chicago, he's good with that. Sebastian.
Oh, I know.
After Scusco there, whatever. Yeah. He talks about that. The pepper hanging on, the dates with his father put the horn in the car. Like, we all had horns in our cars and the saints and all that. Okay. Yeah.
The name of this podcast is called Money, Loyalty, Legacy, right? What ultimately do you want your legacy to be?
I want my legacy to be that anybody could change their lives at any age, and you could overcome anything if you really want to. And once you accept the fact that there's consequences behind your behavior, you can make changes. Okay. And that's what happened to me, you know, and anything's possible. You know, I changed my whole life at 60. I went back to school. At 60 years old, I went back to school. I became a counselor in a treatment center, which I still do now, 10 years later. And you know, and all that glitters isn't gold. You know, at one time I thought that life was, you know, and then I found out the hard way that it wasn't, because people got hurt. My family included, my own family included. And anybody could change if you want to. You know, that's my message, that, you know, anything's possible. There was a point where I thought I could never change until but I did.
Right. And so for the people out there watching, especially like kids, you know, impressionable kids or whatnot, it's not worth it at the end of the day, right? We talked about all the good times and all the fun memories and stuff you had, like when you're partying and the women or whatnot, but ultimately it isn't worth it. You know what I mean? Like going to jail and people lose their lives and all that. It's not worth it.
It's instant gratification. That's what it is. It's instant gratification. And at the end of the day, it's not worth it, because I gave up what I gave up over that life, you know, blows my mind. Sometimes, you know, I miss my kids growing up. I gave up years of my life in prison. My sister hates me. My niece told the judge to give me life in prison. You know, it's a devastating lifestyle. You know, it's evil.
Right.
It's evil.
But it's never too late to change and start a new life for yourself.
Never. I did it at 60. You know, I made a decision to cooperate with the government, which was the hardest decision I ever made. But, you know, my father was dead. His partner, Tony Lee, was dead. John Gotti was dead. And, you know, and that opened the door for me. If they were alive, I could have never cooperated. I would have never gave up my father. I would have never gave up Tony Lee, his partner. Never in a million years. I would have never done it. You know, and I did it because I knew that was the only way for me to change. But after I did that, I still had no skills. I had no education. And at 60, when the government was done with me, because of my life experience, I made a decision to go back to school. Right. Okay. So anything's possible.
Now, the shirt you're wearing is Reformed Gangsters.
Right.
Is that, could you explain that?
Okay. That's my podcast, Reformed Gangsters. It's on YouTube. So if you want to see more of my videos or learn more, subscribe to, Reformed Gangsters, my Patreon channel or my YouTube station. I put out content twice a week. I got a lot of good videos on there. I got some, a lot of stuff with Michael Francis on there. Sammy the Bull. I went out to Arizona, hung out with Sammy. So there's a lot of good stuff on there. I put out a lot of new content, and there's a lot of new content coming out.
Okay, and then you also have an Instagram?
Yes, I have an Instagram, Son of a Gangster. It's my Instagram or my name, Anthony Ruggiano, and I also have a Facebook page, which is Reformed Gangsters. That's my Facebook page.
And what happens if people want to get one of those awesome looking?
Yeah, go on the YouTube station, and there'll be a link for merchandise. I have Fat Andy T-shirts. I have mugs, and I have T-shirts with Reformed Gangsters on it.
Anything else come up you want to plug?
No, it was a pleasure.
Absolutely.
I think we talked about almost everything. It was great fun. It was a little different. It was good. We talked about some fun stuff, the fun days with the girls and everything, which is really, now I'll go home at night. I'll think about it. It was good times. Yeah.
All right, Anthony, well, it was a pleasure, sir.
My pleasure. I really enjoyed it. I really did. I really, really enjoyed it.